Pernell Roberts did not like a lot of people. He made sure everyone knew it. He was different from actors in Hollywood who always smiled for the cameras. Pernell Roberts did not pretend to be friends with people to get along. When Pernell Roberts was acting, he played the part of Adam Cartwright, a dignified person who was a great big brother. When the cameras were not rolling, Pernell Roberts was a very strong and serious person who always told the truth and did not like it when people were fake. Pernell Roberts was a person who did not tolerate people who were not genuine. Pernell did not dislike one or two people. There was a figure he called the script manipulator. He also did not like a Hollywood icon, who Pernell thought was the king of pretending. Then there were others. Pernell criticized them as spokesmen for a status quo. Some of these people had once been friends of Pernell. Some were on-screen brothers of Pernell. Some were people whose mere presence could make Pernell walk out of a room. These were conflicts that Hollywood worked hard to bury. Hollywood did this in order to preserve the legends of the Hollywood icon and the script manipulator and others that Pernell did not like. Number 1. Michael Landon. He started out like a loved brother to me. Over time, things changed a lot. Our relationship went from good to really bad. It happened fast. Michael Landon and I were like brothers at first. In the end, we were like two things that do not go together at all. We did not get along. It was hard to be in the same room as Michael Landon. When the show Bonanza started, Michael Landon was still very young. He was in his 20s. Michael Landon was a looking guy, and he had a lot of charm. He was happy, excited all the time. Michael Landon was able to make a lot of people like him. This guy had everything that Hollywood people really like. He was handsome, he was funny, he had a lot of energy. He was really good at getting people to notice him. He had looks, a quick wit, a lot of energy, and a natural instinct for drawing attention to himself, which is what Hollywood loves. Pernell Roberts was a lot older. He had a lot of classical training. He acted like the brother both when they were filming and when they were not. At first, he thought Michael was a kid, like a little brother. Sometimes Michael would do things without thinking. Sometimes he would go too far, but he was always genuine. Michael looked up to Pernell Roberts. He would often ask him for advice about acting on stage. He would even tease Pernell Roberts, call him Professor Adam. Then nobody thought that Pernell Roberts and Michael would ever disagree with each other. Then the show Bonanza became really popular over the country. The ratings went up high. NBC thought it was making a lot of money, and Michael Landon became very powerful very quickly. He was not just acting in the show anymore. Michael Landon started writing the episodes, then he started directing them. He slowly began to control what the show was about. That is when Pernell started to worry. He thought the episodes that Michael Landon wrote were better for Little Joe. Little Joe got to be in the stories, the exciting action scenes, and the deep emotional parts, while Adam Cartwright was slowly forgotten. Bonanza was. Pernell did not like it. Michael Landon and Bonanza were becoming very successful. Pernell thought it was not fair to Adam Cartwright. Pernell once told a friend that Michael was not writing to improve the show, to make Michael look good. The tension between them kept building until it finally boiled over. There were rumors going around the set for a time. One day a scene was changed at the last minute. Adam was supposed to say something, but his line was cut out and given to Little Joe instead. When they met to discuss the script, Pernell looked straight at Michael, said, "You are not trying to make the show better. Michael is trying to make Michael shine." The person said, "You are trying to make yourself bigger." Then the whole room just stopped. From that moment on, the brotherhood between them was over. The brotherhood was finished. Number 2, Dan Blocker. He was a friend to Pernell. Pernell thought Dan Blocker did not have the courage to stand up for himself. Among the people on the show Bonanza, the person Pernell really thought of as a friend was not Michael Landon or Lorne Greene. It was Dan Blocker. Dan Blocker was a man with a nice smile. He was a kind person. Dan Blocker was genuine and down to earth. He did not pretend to be someone he was not. Both Pernell and Dan Blocker were trained actors. They took acting seriously. When they were not filming, they would sometimes read the works of Shakespeare together. The other people on the show did not do this. To Pernell, Dan wasn't just a colleague. He was a real younger brother. As Bonanza became really popular, Pernell got more and more upset with the way the show was going. He saw things that other people did not want to see, like the old stories being told over and over, and the show not talking about important issues like racism. He also did not like how the show was portraying Native Americans, in a way, and how Adam's character was not as interesting as he used to be. Pernell said something about it. He had arguments with the writers. He wanted them to make some changes. He would not act out scenes that he thought were not true to history. Pernell was really unhappy with the way Bonanza was going. He wanted to make sure that the show was telling stories that were real and honest, especially when it came to the character of Adam on Bonanza. Dan Blocker did things his way. He did not like to fight with people. He wanted to keep everything calm. Dan Blocker did not say he liked what Pernell was doing. He did not say he disliked what the producers were doing. Pernell was sad because Dan Blocker was not taking his side. Something big happened on a day of filming. The people who wrote the show had a scene where a Native American was treated badly. Pernell read the scene. He did not like it. He got up, said he would not do it. Then Pernell walked off the set where they were filming. Number 3, Lee Marvin. He was a part of a fight that divided Hollywood in the 1960s. Lee Marvin had a face that you could not miss. He was tall and rough around the edges. His voice was really deep. Sounded like it came from a trench in World War II. That makes sense because Lee Marvin actually fought in World War II. Lee Marvin was in a lot of movies like The Dozen and Cat Ballou. He was also in westerns that were very gritty. When he was not acting, Lee Marvin was just as famous for the things he did. This man liked to drink a lot. He said what was on his mind even if it was not nice. The man did not like people who thought they were smarter than everyone or who always talked about what is right and wrong. He got annoyed with people like that. The man just did not have time for them. He had no patience for people who were overly smart or always preaching about morals. To Pernell Roberts, a man who always did what he thought was right, Lee Marvin was a different person. Lee Marvin was a guy who just did what felt right at the time. He did not care about thinking about things. Pernell Roberts thought that Western movies should change and talk about issues like race and what is fair. Pernell Roberts also thought that Western movies should teach people about doing a thing. Lee Marvin did not think that Western movies needed to teach people anything. In an interview in 1968, Lee Marvin said that movies just need to show what really happens, and they do not need to teach people a lesson. Lee Marvin believed that movies should just be real, and that is all that matters. The quote got around Hollywood, finally made its way to Pernell. He heard it as something a man said who liked violence, did not want to think about what it really meant. This man enjoyed violence. The quote made Pernell think that the man did not really understand the violence. The violence was something the man liked, and that was it, for the man and the violence. The famous argument between Marvin and Pernell Roberts happened at a panel discussion about Western movies in Los Angeles. This was in the 1960s. Marvin was there to talk about movies that are full of action. Pernell Roberts was there to talk about movies that make you think. They sat on sides of the room. Marvin had a glass of whiskey. Pernell Roberts had a glass of water. Everything was okay until someone in the audience asked a question. The question was whether Western movies should teach us something or just be fun to watch. Marvin looked at Pernell Roberts, smiled in a mean way. Then he said that Western movies are for fun. The whole room started laughing at what Marvin said about movies. Number 4, Robert Conrad. Back in the 1960s, Robert Conrad was a deal on television because of a Wild Wild West. He really loved Hollywood. He loved being the center of attention. Robert Conrad also loved the idea of being a guy. He was a guy who got angry easily, and he liked to do his own stunts. Robert Conrad would often talk about the fights he got into and the injuries he got. To Robert Conrad, being a man meant being in charge and being strong. To Pernell Roberts, this was not strength all. This was a person who is not sure of himself and tries to hide it with big muscles. Pernell Roberts did not like men who think they are better than everyone, men who use their bodies to scare people, and men who think they are strong because they can push others around. Pernell Roberts thought Conrad was all of these things. Conrad liked to use his fists and act tough. Pernell Roberts believed that real power comes from being smart and understanding your feelings. When Pernell Roberts and Conrad were in the room together, they did not get along. Pernell Roberts and Conrad had different ideas about what makes a person strong. Something big happened at a television event in Los Angeles. They had all these stars on stage together. The host started talking about Pernell's experience with Shakespeare and how serious he is as an actor. Then Conrad started laughing loudly and made fun of the idea of Shakespeare being in Bonanza. A few people laughed along with Conrad. Pernell did not say anything away. He just looked at Conrad for a time, which was long enough for the whole room to feel really uncomfortable. Backstage, Pernell went up to Conrad and said in a quiet voice, "The real power of a man is in his mind, not in how strong he looks in a short-sleeve shirt." This was a deal for Conrad, because he usually solved problems with his fists. Conrad did not say anything. After that, Conrad and Pernell stayed away from each other. If Conrad was invited to a party, Pernell would not go. It was not that Conrad and Pernell did not like each other, it was just that they had different ideas about what it means to be a man. Conrad and Pernell represented two kinds of masculinity, and neither of them was willing to change their ways. Number 5. Chuck Connors. Chuck Connors, the star of The Rifleman, was really popular with people who watched the show. He knew it. At a charity event in the late 1960s, Chuck Connors walked in like he owned the place. He was really tall and stood out from the crowd with a lot of fans and reporters around him. Pernell did not really pay attention to Chuck Connors until he saw him yell at a person who was helping out backstage and had brought over a microphone in a hurry. Pernell stepped in, told Connors that he had treated the boy very badly. Connors just made fun of him, saying he was like Adam Cartwright giving another talk about what is right and wrong. Pernell said that a good actor does not need to put people down to feel good about himself. Connors poked Pernell in the chest with his finger, said that Pernell was being bitter and jealous. Pernell looked at Connors and said something that made everyone in the room stop talking. He told Connors that being successful does not mean you can hide the truth, and the worst thing is that Connors really believed the things he was saying about himself. The success of Connors did not cover the deception of Connors. No one intervened. After that day, they never spoke again. Pernell avoided any event where Connors might appear. When Connors' name came up later, Pernell would simply say that he talked without thinking. Pernell didn't despise Connors for fame or success. He despised him because of how he treated people beneath him. In Pernell's view, an actor could fail at the craft, but not at being human. And in one moment, Chuck Connors revealed exactly who he was.